Hello, this is News Mongolian MNB World. I'm your host, Jugdur Gambold. And for our top stories for today. President of Mongolia U.Khurelsukh launched his state visit to France. Nearly 50% of the mining products were exported through Gashuun Sukhait Port. Political parties need to be prepared to ensure gender equality. For the news, stay tuned. On the invitation of the President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron, the President of Mongolia U.Khurelsukh is paying an official state visit to France from October 10th to October 14th, 2023.
During this visit, several significant events and meetings have been scheduled. President U.Khurelsukh will engage in discussions with President Emmanuel Macron, where topics of discussion are expected to encompass a wide range of bilateral and international issues of mutual interest. In addition to the meeting with the French president, the Mongolian president is also scheduled to meet with other prominent French figures. These meetings will include discussions with the president of French Senate, Gérard Larcher, and the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, with the aim of strengthening diplomatic ties and fostering cooperation between the two countries. An educational and cultural component of the visit includes the inauguration of a traveling exhibition entitled Chinggis Khan: How the Mongols Changed the World. This exhibition will be hosted at the Natural History Museum of Nantes in France, with a duration of 6 months, providing an excellent opportunity to showcase Mongolian culture, history, and its global influence. Furthermore, President U.Khurelsukh will attend a performance by the Modern Horde Ensemble of Mongolia at the Royal Opera of Versailles, which is expected to celebrate Mongolian cultural heritage through music. Importantly, it should be noted that Mongolia's role as a supplier of critical metals for France's energy transition was highlighted by President Emmanuel Macron's recent visit to Ulaanbaatar. This visit carries historical significance as it marks the inaugural visit of a Mongolian head of state to the French Republic, further emphasizing the diplomatic relationship between the two nations. Diplomatically, Mongolia and France established diplomatic relations on April 27th of 1965, with both countries opening their respective diplomatic missions, Mongolia establishing its embassy in Paris in 1969, and the French Republic opening its embassy in Mongolia in 1966. These diplomatic missions have played a crucial role in facilitating diplomatic relations, cultural exchanges, and cooperation between the two countries over the years.
As of the first 8 months of this year, Mongolia has exported 47.6 million tons of mining products, a higher volume than in previous years. Coal transport made up the majority of transportation through the port, with 84.2% of all exports being transported by vehicles. Gashuun Sukhait Port processed 49.2% of all mining exports, 19% through Shivekkurung, 16.6% through Zamingut, 6.1% through Henk, and 3.5% through Bichik Port. The mining industry accounts for 23.6% of Mongolia's gross domestic product, 24.8% of budget revenue, 93.7% of all exports, and 82.5% of foreign direct investment. Starting from January 2024, the updated political party law will come into effect. Consequently, parties will be required to nominate a minimum of 30% representation for each gender. If successfully implemented and enforced, this measure is poised to significantly elevate women's involvement within political parties.
In 2005, Mongolia introduced the 30% nomination quota for the first time, which was enshrined in the election law. Regrettably, it remained unimplemented and was subsequently revoked in 2007. Since then, there has been ongoing discussion about the 30% quota, yet efforts to effectively put it into practice have as yet not borne fruit. External non-governmental organizations have consistently stressed the significance of political parties taking the initiative and demonstrating courage in adhering to the law during elections. To achieve gender equality, it's imperative to enact policies that provide support for women, individuals with disabilities, and other marginalized social groups. This includes initiatives such as organizing training programs and allocating a specific percentage of state funds to enhance voter education. Additionally, if the goal is to increase the presence of women in positions of decision-making authority, political parties must take it upon themselves to thoroughly prepare and support their female members, ensuring their active involvement at the decision-making level. Recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, pregnant women and seriously ill individuals have been greatly affected. Surprisingly, there has never been a woman working at the National Emergency Management Agency or NEMA, the group responsible for making rapid emergency decisions. Men are often unaware of the difficulties faced by pregnant women. Therefore, when women reach decision-making positions, it will benefit not only in problem-solving, but also in debating these kinds of issues from a variety of perspectives and making decisions that are beneficial to all people. In political parties, there are many women in lower-level leadership roles. However, when it comes to the highest positions, there aren't enough women represented. Some advocates argue that political parties should be transparent about their financial records internally. This would help more women get involved in politics and create a level playing field, allowing anyone to participate both politically and financially.
Keeping the party's finances hidden can be detrimental to everyone, especially for women who are just starting in politics. A new law on political parties has recently been enacted. It's crucial to create favorable conditions for its effective implementation. When party funding is made transparent and accountable, expenses are lowered, and everything becomes clear and accessible. This creates opportunities for everyone in society to get involved.
In the old electoral system, men's names were typically listed first on the ballot paper. However, in the updated version, names will be arranged alternately. This approach is adopted in many countries globally. In recent times, voters have become increasingly conscious of the advantages of having equal representation in decision-making roles. The private sector also sees this as a worthwhile investment.
Please take a look at currency exchange rates provided by the Central Bank of Mongolia. Now here comes foreign news partnered with international news agencies. The UN Health Agency says the medical supplies that it had prepositioned in 7 hospitals in Gaza have already been used up, as needs balloon in the wake of Israel's military strike against the militant group Hamas.
Now let's move, as I said, to the situation in the Middle East. We have several colleagues who have come in briefly.
And yes, the displacement continues, and it continues en masse. In approximately 80 UNRWA schools, we are now housing more than 137,000 residents of Gaza who left their homes in fear of their homes being attacked or destroyed. It is worth mentioning that UNRWA sadly does have experience in turning some of its schools into shelters, but the huge displacement we have witnessed over the last 2 days way outweighs our ability to absorb the displaced and to absorb them adequately.
But
World Health Organization spokesperson Tariq Jazarevich told reporters that affiliate hospitals had triggered emergency plans to better manage the surge of casualties. But with the number of casualties currently coming in, these hospitals are now running beyond their capacity. He said the World Health Organization was reprogramming $1 million of its funds to allow for purchases of medical supplies from the local market to fill gaps in need.
The pre-positioned supplies, which were in 7 major hospitals in the Gaza Strip, have now been used up. Yesterday, these hospitals also activated the hospital emergency plans, prepared with support from WHO to better manage the surge of casualties. But with the number of casualties currently coming in, these hospitals are now running beyond their capacity. WHO is reprogramming $1 million to procure more urgently needed medical supplies from the local market to fill gaps in need.
The health agency has already called for a humanitarian corridor to be open to allow new supplies to be ferried into Gaza. Ravina Shamsadani, spokesperson for the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, described it as an explosive powder keg situation and called on all parties to respect international law.
We are faced with an explosive powder keg situation, and we know how this plays out time and again. The loss of Israeli and Palestinian lives and incalculable suffering inflicted on both communities. All parties must respect international humanitarian law. They must immediately cease attacks targeting civilians and attacks expected to cause disproportionate death and injury of civilians or damage to civilian objects. We are deeply shocked and appalled by allegations of summary execution of civilians and, in some instances, horrifying mass killings by members of Palestinian armed groups.
The latest Israel-Palestinian war began after Hamas militants stormed into Israel on Saturday, bringing gun battles to the country's streets for the first time in decades. The fighting has already had killed at least 1,600 people.
Escalating tensions in Gaza prompt urgent calls for humanitarian aid and safe corridors as Israel launches retaliatory strikes. The United Nations World Food Programme is mobilizing to deliver essential supplies to those affected amid growing concerns for the region's already dire humanitarian situation.
On Tuesday, the United Nations World Food Programme urged the establishment of humanitarian corridors to facilitate the delivery of food to Gaza. Following a weekend surprise attack by a Hamas militant group, Israel launched extensive airstrikes on downtown Gaza City, vowing retaliation that it claimed would have long-lasting consequences. The Israeli military targeted numerous sites in Gaza City's densely populated and upscale Rimmel neighborhood, which houses government ministries, universities, media outlets, and aid organization offices under Hamas control. As a result of these attacks and the blockade, the death toll was anticipated to rise in the densely populated Palestinian territory.
The situation is devastating. We are on the ground doing everything we can to make sure the people in need, the ones who fled their homes and residing in shelters, are getting the food and help they need to be able to survive. Today, we set out to reach 180,000 together with UNRWA that are residing in shelters with ready-to-eat food, including fresh bread from bakeries that are still able to operate in Gaza. We will be rolling our assistance through electronic vouchers so people can buy food from shops that are still operating. We are doing everything we can, but very soon the food supplies and basic needs in Gaza are going to run out. We need a humanitarian corridor to be able to support the people who are affected, and their numbers are rising every day. We need safe and impeded access, and we need funding support now more than ever.
The conflict ignited when Hamas militants breached Israeli borders on Saturday, leading to gun battles on Israeli streets, a rare occurrence indicates. The United Nations Human Rights Chief expressed concern on Tuesday about Israel's declaration of a complete siege on Gaza, foreseeing a worsening of the already critical humanitarian situation in the region. He also condemned alleged large-scale killings and executions by Palestinian militants. In a response, the World Food Programme has initiated an emergency operation to deliver crucial supplies to hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza. Currently, 60 families have sought refuge in a school utilized by the United Nations Relief and Work Agency as an emergency shelter. The World Food Programme is striving to provide bread and other essential food items to the 250 individuals housed there.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying tuned. We'll see you next time with more news and updates. Have a great day ahead.